Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hello, guys. Let's go. Belisarius time. I was going to do it the other day, but it although I may seem shameless often, I don't like to post a video from a channel who posted it on, like, I don't like when a channel posts a video and then I react to it on the same day. It was actually a criticism I received a few months ago, and I think it was a very good one. But I'm reacting to it today, just so I don't leech, a reaction channel. Like, if I spend a lot of time creating this video and doing this actual work and then putting it out, and then a bunch of people react to it, and people who would have watched the original video just end up watching it for the first time on the reaction channel, I think that I should let, views, sink in. Let's go. Original link to the video, top of the description below. My name is Connor. Hello. If you are not ready to learn, there's the door. You're in the wrong class. Home ec is down the hall. All right, let's go. Make me a strudel.
534 AD.
Merry Christmas, guys. What? Where are my manners? Merry Christmas. All right. Happy December. Great time of the year. I got the Christmas truce little painting in the background. I spent like 15 minutes just like trying to place this right, where like I could get the guys in the background, but I also wanted to show, like, I'm going off on tangents. Let's go. Yeah, hope you're doing well.
Belisarius, Eastern Roman general, has waged one of the most successful campaigns in the empire's history.
Yep.
The complete reconquest of North Africa in just 6 months, almost without loss. He is well rewarded by Emperor Justinian. He celebrates his victory with a triumph in Constantinople and receives the title of consul.
Guys, how's Justinian viewed in history? I haven't learned too much about him. He seems pretty docile, but maybe it's too. I'm a huge fan of Suchet, one of Napoleon's marshals, and he is by no means a ruthless guy. And so I'm not saying you have to be ruthless and suppress stuff by force at any turn. But it seems like his wife, Theodora, right, that's him, and then Belisarius are really kind of pushing him along to do smarter decisions that he won't want to do because they seem like they're quelling the riots and stuff. So I'm just wondering how he's viewed, all right?
Belisarius has helped Justinian's regime survive political crisis. Now his victory offers irrefutable proof of God's divine sanction. Emboldened, irrefutable political crisis. Now his victory offers irrefutable proof of God's divine sanction. Emboldened, Justinian will pursue a new strategic vision, the reconquest of the Western Roman Empire and its reunification. Belisarius' next mission will be to Italy, where he will fight a desperate struggle for the eternal city, Rome itself.
God, wait, this is Epic History TV, isn't it? Oh, God. I'm thinking, wow, these channels stepping up their game. Epic History TV is such a great channel. How am I not? I'm subscribed. I didn't have the bell icon. So great. You're in for a treat.
First, a big thanks to our video sponsor, Private Internet Access. These days, a VPN is essential for anyone who takes their online security and data privacy seriously. Private Internet Access is the most transparent VPN in the world, highly respected and trusted by its users. By hiding your IP address and rerouting your internet traffic through an encrypted tunnel, Private Internet Access can increase online anonymity, protecting you from snoopers, hackers, trackers, and cyber criminals. It's all run through an elegant, streamlined interface with a host of advanced options for those who want to customize their VPN. And unlike your internet service provider, Private Internet Access never stores or logs your data. It's available on all platforms and can protect up to 10 devices simultaneously. What's more, we have a special offer for Epic History TV viewers. A 3-year subscription with 4 extra months free for just $1.98 per month. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. Just use the link in the video description.
Okay.
Thanks again to Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video. 60 years have passed since the Western Roman Empire fell to barbarians. Many kings emerged to rule over its shattered remains. Above them all towered Theodoric the Great. With Eastern Roman approval, he'd led his Ostrogoth warbands from the Balkans into Italy. He overthrew and killed Odoacer, the man who'd deposed the last Western emperor, and forged his own Goth superstate. Theodoric, an Arian Christian, worked with the Senate in Rome and sought close relations with the Eastern Roman Empire. Worked with the Senate superstate. Theodoric, an Arian Christian.
Arian Christian, I know the difference. They don't believe in the Trinity. I don't believe. I think they think that Jesus did not exist until he was born. I think that's it.
Worked with the Senate in Rome and sought close relations with the Arian Christian.
Well, I don't want to hear it, all right? If I'm rewinding, I'm not... I want to make it nice and flowy. I need to learn if I miss something.
Goth superstate. Theodoric, an Arian Christian, worked with the Senate in Rome and sought close relations with the Eastern Roman Empire. To Emperor Anastasius, he wrote, "Our royalty is an imitation of yours, modeled on your good purpose, a copy of the only empire." Procopius, the 6th century historian and aide to Belisarius, would himself praise Theodoric as, in name a tyrant, but in fact an emperor, no less than any who've ever distinguished themselves in that office. In the eyes of his supporters, Theodoric had revived the Western Roman Empire in all but...
Is that like a swipe against Rome itself, or am I reading too much into that?
Theodoric had revived the Western Roman Empire in all but name. But the succession would unravel his great achievement. Theodoric had 3 daughters, so his heir was to have been his son-in-law, Eutharic, but he died 4 years before the king in 522. The succession passed to Theodoric's 10-year-old grandson, Athalaric. His mother, the highly educated and formidable Amalasuntha, ruled as regent. In defending her position, Amalasuntha made powerful enemies among the Goths, and when her son died aged just 18, one of those enemies, her cousin Theodahad, became king. In 535, he has Amalasuntha imprisoned on an island in the middle of Lake Bolsena. Weeks later, assassins arrive. They're rumored to be vengeful relatives of men Amalasuntha had killed during her regency. The daughter of Theodoric the Great is strangled in her bath. Theodahad thinks he can quietly eliminate his rival without repercussions. But Amalasuntha had been a trusted ally.
They had. See, my mind is. He mentioned bath. So they had sewage systems and running water. How did they drain the bath? I shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. Okay.
The daughter of Theodahad thinks he can quietly eliminate in her bath. Theodahad thinks he can quietly eliminate his rival without repercussions. But Amalasuntha had been a trusted ally of the Emperor Justinian, and he is looking for an excuse for war. He is looking for an ally of the repercussions. But Amalasuntha had been a trusted ally of the Emperor Justinian, and he is looking for an excuse for war.
Okay, I'll stop rewinding so much.
And the Emperor, upon learning what had befallen Amalasuntha, immediately entered upon the war, being in the 9th year of his reign. For Justinian...
Meanwhile, it happened that Belisarius had distinguished himself by the defeat of Gelimer and the Vandals, and the emperor, upon learning what had befallen Amalasuntha, immediately entered upon the war, being in the 9th year of his reign, and he first commanded Mundus, the general of Illyricum, to go to Dalmatia, which was subject to the Goths, and make trial of Salonus. Now Mundus was by birth a barbarian, but exceedingly loyal to the cause of the emperor and an able warrior.
In the 9th year of his reign. For Justinian, chaos at the Ostrogoth court presents an opportunity. After success in North Africa, he wants Italy for the empire. The strategic and symbolic gains will be immense.
Right, they were
Before
in Carthage.
Her death, Amalasuntha had offered him the kingdom in exchange for political
successful.
asylum. Now,
I'm all right. I am sorry now. I really gotta.
Immense. Before her death, Amalasuntha had offered him the kingdom in exchange for political asylum. Now Justinian pressures Theodahad, a notoriously corrupt and greedy man, to accept the same deal or face war. Justinian's tough diplomacy is backed up by military deployments. Mundus, commanding the army in Illyria, advances...
So she knew she had a target on her head, on her back. Voice crack. And so she was messaging to him that he would give him what he wanted in return of protection, but she ended up being killed, and he found out that, and he wanted to keep that deal with this new guy.
Into Goth-controlled Mundus, commanding the army in Illyria, advances into Goth-controlled Dalmatia and takes Salona, the modern city of Split. Belisarius, meanwhile, is ordered to sail with 9,000 men to Sicily to see if the Goths there will put up a fight. Only the garrison of Palermo offers resistance, which is soon overcome. The rest of Sicily submits to the Romans without a fight.
I mean, that's not surprising. The Goths coming from the north, when they take over Rome and they're gonna solidify control over the Italian peninsula. Obviously, it's going to be easier for population to come in and to set up defenses in the northern peninsula, and so that's not surprising at all that Sicily wouldn't have a lot of defense.
On the last day of 535, Belisarius marks the end of his consulship, scattering coins to the crowds in Syracuse as his troops march triumphantly through the city. As negotiations continue in the Goth capital Ravenna between Theodahad and Justinian's envoy, Solomon, Praetorian prefect of North Africa, arrives in Sicily with alarming news from Carthage. The army, angered by late pay and religious discrimination, has murdered its officers and mutinied. Belisarius immediately sails for Carthage with just 100 picked men. His own formidable reputation, plus generous handouts of cash, quickly secures the loyalty of 2,000 troops, whom he leads out to face the 9,000.
That's so awesome. He's like, all right, I'm going there myself.
Mutineers. The mutineer army is a motley crew of Romans, mercenaries, renegade Vandals, and escaped slaves, commanded by Stotzas, a former Bucellarius. They have no generals and little discipline. When Stotzas tries to maneuver his army into a better position, it becomes badly disordered. Belisarius immediately launches an all-out attack. Stotzas and his army turn and run. Belisarius has saved Carthage.
That's so awesome. And amazing storytelling, history telling, by Epic History TV. Just, he heard of, and by the way, side note, if there had been a lot of resistance on Sicily, that would have spelt really bad news if the Goths had set up control of former Rome that far down south. But anyways, I love how he hears of this uprising in Carthage, and it's supposed to be this big problem, 8,000 men, and he's just like, oh god, all of these like peasants and whatnot. Just, it seems like he knew he was just gonna go over there and be like, it was just like a headache, like, all right, I'll go over there, and then they just immediately rout and run.
But the war in North Africa against Berbers and rebels will drag on for 15 more years. This task falls to Solomon, as Belisarius must race back to Sicily to quash another mutiny among his own troops. In the Balkans, meanwhile, a Goth
What are you doing over there?
counterattack results in the death of General Mundus, and the Romans make a tactical withdrawal. When news of this minor triumph reaches King Theodahad, he feels suddenly emboldened and rejects all Justinian's demands. Belisarius receives new orders. He is to cross the Strait of Messina and reconquer Italy from the Ostrogoths. Belisarius lands in Italy with barely 8,000 men. The bulk of his troops are infantry, including 3,000 Isaurians, fierce warriors from the Taurus Mountains of Anatolia. His cavalry includes Hun and Berber mercenaries, as well as the elite Bucellari, the picked troops maintained by Belisarius, and other senior commanders.
Sorry.
As in North Africa, he is accompanied on campaign by his wife Antonina, a capable and trusted ally of Empress Theodora. That the Emperor entrusts...
Just so you guys know, if you haven't watched previous ones, it seems like Empress Theodora has more power than Justinian has. Not on paper, it just seems Justinian is a bit more weak of a ruler, and Theodora seems to kind of be controlling things, so...
the campaign to such a small force, when the Goths can field an army 4 times its size, indicates Justinian's supreme confidence in Belisarius. But it is also a sign that he has badly underestimated the Goths and their will to fight. Belisarius's army is welcomed by southern Italians and meets no opposition as far as Naples. This city has strong walls and a garrison of 800 Goths. Belisarius appeals directly to its citizens, urging them to throw open the gates and warning of the dire consequences of an assault. I pray that an ancient city which has long been inhabited by Christians and Romans may not meet with such a fortune, especially at my hands as a commander of Roman troops.
So there's a garrison of 800 Goths, but the city does it have more people, or is it just a garrison? And he's saying the people inside it to throw open the gates, which means that the Goths. I'm trying to figure out if the Goths are, if Belisarius is pleading to people in the city to just rush to the gate and throw it open before the Goths can kill him, or if he's talking about the Goths themselves to give up and open the gate. I hope that makes sense.
The citizens of Naples are divided, but ultimately their leaders reject the demand to hand over the city. When Belisarius's troops sneak into the city using an old aqueduct, there is a savage slaughter of Goths and Italian citizens alike.
Okay.
Until the general can restore order.
That answers my question.
The main Ostrogoth army has been standing idle 60 miles to the north. Theodahad, never suited to military command, and now unsettled by omens, does nothing to save Naples.
Omens.
It's his own death sentence. He is deposed and killed. Witigis becomes the new king of the Ostrogoths. He is in his 60s, but he's an experienced soldier who fought alongside Theodoric the Great. He assumes that Belisarius must be leading Theodoric. He is in his 60s, but he's an experienced soldier who fought alongside Theodoric the Great. He assumes that Belisarius must be leading a large army up from the south. and wants more time to gather his forces. He also plans to negotiate a truce with the Franks, which will free up more troops for the war against the Romans. So, leaving 4,000 men to hold Rome, Witigis withdraws to Ravenna. Belisarius garrisons Naples and advances up the old Roman road, the Via Latina, to Rome. But as he nears the great city, the Goths simply abandon it. They march out through the Porta Flaminia, as Belisarius and his army march in through the Porta Asinaria, a gate which, though much restored, survives to this day.
I'm wondering if there's a strategy here, or if it's just that this land down here is not worth it. It's not Ravenna, right? Maybe it's too far down south, and so maybe you want to mass your armies more north, where you have more solidified control over the population. So it's either that, it's them being just scared, which I guess, or it's some kind of strategy trap.
60 years after the fall of the Western Empire, Rome once more belongs to
Jesus.
Years.
I've seen Jesus so many. Hey, Jesus. What's his last name? Nazareth. Christ wasn't. Oh God. Did I just look like an idiot? All right.
After the fall of the Western Empire, Rome once more belongs to the Romans. Belisarius duly dispatches the keys to the city to Emperor Justinian.
And this doesn't last for long, right? Like, they take it back, but then it goes
Rome in the 6th
back
century
to the,
is still a great city.
To the Visigoths or the Franks?
But a shadow of its former glory. Is still a great city, but a shadow of its former glory. In its imperial heyday, Rome's population had been around 500,000. Now it's just a fifth of that. But it remains the seat of the Roman Senate and the Pope.
Not surprising.
And a city of intense emotional and cultural significance to all Romans.
I'm trying to think of like what would be like a modern day equivalent. Maybe like Paris or something. But I mean, France is still a pretty strong country.
The city is also notoriously difficult to defend, which is why the Goths have abandoned it. The famous Aurelian walls are crumbling, and at 12 miles in length are too long for a small army to easily hold. The Goths had also worried that Rome's large population might turn against them. Belisarius is down to 7,000 men, not enough to face the Goths in open battle. So he sends detachments to garrison key strongholds along the Via Flaminia, the road to Ravenna, which he hopes will delay the inevitable Goth advance. While in Rome, he and his men begin hurried preparations for a siege. The walls are...
Look at that, the crumbling walls there and the weeds growing in there.
...repaired, and merlons are added. A deep moat is dug around the city.
What I love about this channel so much is its maps might not be as good as History March. It's maybe some of the drawings aren't as good as, but it's the whole package. They're just so good. They have great drawings, cartoon drawings like this. They're the great narration, great maps, storytelling, score, the music in the background, effects. It's such a great channel. I want to go through the Napoleon
are filled with grain. All Rome's adult male citizens are conscripted into the city guard. Witigis, meanwhile, has been told how small Belisarius' army is. Embarrassed by his earlier caution, he gives the order for his reinforced army to march on Rome. His chief concern is to get there before Belisarius can escape. But Belisarius has no plans to flee. And whoever of you has hopes of setting foot in Rome without a fight is mistaken in his judgment. For as long as Belisarius lives, it is impossible for him to relinquish this city. Such were the words of Belisarius. 537 AD were.
But the Romans, being overcome by a great fear, sat in silence, and even though they were abused by the envoys at length.
Words of Belisarius. 537 AD. In early spring, Vitiges leads a huge Goth army, probably more than 30,000 men, down the Via Flaminia, sweeping past the small Roman outposts. Belisarius plans to fight a delaying action a mile and a half north of the city, at the Milvian Bridge. But his infantry, terrified by the size of the Goth army, abandon the bridge without a fight. Belisarius is left facing the Goth army with just 1,000 horsemen. He orders his men to charge. Belisarius himself fights in the front rank. Scores of men fall around him. Goth spears finally drive Belisarius and his men back towards the Porta Salaria. At first, its defenders don't recognize Belisarius, covered in dust and gore, and won't let him in. He's forced to launch another desperate charge.
I don't want to say it and have it be untrue, because if it's true, then that's awesome of Belisarius. But do you think that historian favors, because isn't one of the main historians that where we're getting sources from on the Eastern Roman side? I get that being in the midst of the battle is going to make your troops respect you much more and put your image, reputation up, which is important. But you dying is going to be terrible. And so do you think they're exaggerating a bit about some of the times Belisarius is being on the front line? Let me know if you think I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. It'd be awesome if all this is real. I'm sure it happened many times. But is it that smart and
drive the Goths back from the walls? Finally, the gate is opened, and he and his men get back into the city. The siege of Rome begins. The city is too large for Vitiges to completely surround. He builds 7 fortified camps north of the city and cuts the aqueducts that have supplied Rome with water for 800 years. There will be no baths for the Romans, but the city's wells will still supply drinking water. When Belisarius rejects calls to surrender, the Goths begin building rams, ladders, and siege towers for a major assault.
I'm sorry, it just reminds me so much of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Begin building rams, ladders, and siege towers for a major assault. 18 days later, they attack. But their inexperience in siege warfare is soon evident. Their towers are pulled by oxen. The Romans shoot all the animals,
right,
and the towers are left stranded.
How did you not think of that?
The Goths
at least crowd. Why didn't they crowd around? You saw all of them under the shields. Why not do that around the oxen and keep having the oxen move forward?
Assault the city from multiple directions. The mausoleum of Hadrian, converted into a fortress, comes under heavy pressure. But eventually, the Goths are thrown back on all fronts. That night, the Romans celebrate a great victory, lighting fires and singing from the battlements.
They're speaking Latin,
Both
right?
sides prepare for a long siege. Belisarius is an inspiring presence in the city, active, calm, and confident, even when others begin to despair. He has written to just...
Guys, I'm noticing in the female headdress, the male headdress too, I just don't see a male with it, but this kind of style, that is, you just don't think of as Roman at all. And it seems to have been adopted in the Eastern Roman Empire. Maybe it's something to do with Christianity. I thought it kind of had an Egyptian vibe to it.
Justinian urgently requesting reinforcements. Now he oversees every aspect of the city's defense and supply. He orders all non-combatants to travel south to Naples, so there are fewer mouths to feed. He has the keys to the gates changed regularly to reduce the risk from treachery, while his Berber mercenaries patrol at night with dogs to detect any surprise attack. His wife, Antonina, also takes an active role.
I wonder what dog breeds are even around at this time.
His wife, Antonina, also takes an active role. When the Pope is suspected of conducting secret talks with the Goths, she demands, "Tell us, Lord Pope Silverius, what have we done to you and the Romans to make you want to betray us to the Goths?"
Man.
The Pope is arrested and sent out of the city.
Man.
So the secret talk an active role. When the Pope is suspected of conducting secret talks with the Goths, she demands, "Tell us, Lord Pope Silverius, what have we done to you and the Romans to make you want to betray us to the Goths?"
Jesus Christ.
The Pope is arrested and sent out of the city.
He's terrifying.
A month into the siege, Belisarius receives much-needed reinforcements. 1,600 cavalry, mostly Huns and Slavs, led by Martinus and Valerian. Belisarius has seen that the Goths have no mounted archers. Now he can use his own to make hit-and-run attacks against the enemy. A few hundred horsemen will ride within range of the Goths, shower them with arrows, then fall back under covering fire from the city walls. Procopius counts 67 actions of this type, both large and small. Almost all are won by the Romans because of their superior cavalry. The victories raise morale and frustrate the enemy, but they will not break.
Man, the recurve bow is such a game changer, huh?
Victories raise morale and frustrate the enemy, but they will not break the siege. The situation deteriorates dramatically when the Goths take Portus, Rome's port at the mouth of the river Tiber, making it much more difficult to get supplies into the city. By September, 6 months into the siege, hunger and sickness begin to take hold.
6 months.
Even the army's mules and sickness. By September, 6 months, even the army's mules are killed to make sausages. The citizens of Rome beg Belisarius to stake everything on one decisive battle for the city. But he refuses, telling them, "You act as though you were playing dice and want to risk everything on a single roll, but it is not my custom to choose the short course over the best course."
Okay.
Instead, Belisarius sends Antonina and Procopius to Naples, with instructions to use his authority to requisition all grain and every soldier who can be spared, and send both to Rome. 500 men and a convoy of supplies are soon rolling up the Via Appia. They're followed by 1,800 cavalry reinforcements, who land at Dryas, modern Otranto. Then 3,000 Isaurians arrive at Naples aboard grain ships, and travel on to Ostia by sea. After months of delay, the vast resources of the Eastern Roman Empire are finally coming to Belisarius.
It's really easy to forget, I'm going to go back 5 seconds, to forget the time, the scale of time, this happening over months and months, and it's easy to think how it's all just like one battle and everything, but it's just not.
The vast resources of the Eastern Roman Empire are finally coming to Belisarius's aid. The garrison of Rome launch a series of diversionary attacks on the Goths. These allow the supplies, under Antonina's direction, to slip into the city. The threat of starvation is ended.
You see, Citizens of Rome, listen to Belisarius.
Last straw for Witigis. His own men have been camped outside Rome for almost a year, harassed by the enemy, themselves decimated by disease and hunger. The Ostrogoth king asks for a truce to open negotiations with the emperor. He offers Justinian all of southern Italy, but it is not enough. The initiative has swung to Belisarius. Belisarius has sent an elite force of 2,000 cavalry, commanded by John, north into Picenum, behind enemy lines. When the Goths break the terms of the truce, Belisarius orders John to unleash hell. Almost all the Goth warriors are away on military service. Their farms and settlements are completely exposed. John sacks, burns, and plunders at will, enslaving
Why am I laughing? Why am I smiling? I'm a psycho.
hundreds of Goth women and children.
Okay.
Enslaving hundreds of Goth women and children. Romans are not harmed. Witigis's uncle gathers a small force to challenge John. They're no match for his Bucellari. John ignores the Goth strongholds at Urbino and Auximum, but at the invitation of its citizens, occupies the walled city of Ariminum, just 30 miles south of the Ostrogoth capital at Ravenna. Witigis has no choice but to abandon the siege and march north to defend the Goth heartland. Against the odds, under-resourced and outnumbered, Belisarius has triumphed in one of history's most epic sieges. A siege
I was just starting to really get red.
that has lasted 1 year and 9 days. Because of him, the city of Romulus and the Caesars once more belongs to the Roman Empire.
Not for long,
the
though,
war
right?
against the Goths in Italy seems to be entering its final phase. Belisarius's position appears unassailable. But, as every emperor knows, the history of
Is it just me, or does he kind of Justinian looks like Magnus Carlsen, the Norwegian chess player?
the empire has been blighted time and again by the treachery of overmighty generals. Belisarius's victories are as glorious as any in Rome's history. How can Justinian not regard him with suspicion? Soon, Belisarius will find himself facing new rivals from within the empire.
Don't tell me.
Just as an old enemy re-emerges.
What? So what's wrong? Justinian, he did too well after you failed to quell that riot, and then your wife and Belisarius had to, and then he's doing all this stuff, and now it's like, oh, he's too good, he's up to something.
Just as an old enemy re-emerges in the east. Big thanks to Legendarian for providing our Total War Attila gameplay footage.
This is going to connect to the Spread of Islam videos.
YouTube channel for more videos on this period.
Awesome channel. Awesome video. There's got to be more that come out eventually. Awesome. Hope you guys are doing well. More videos coming soon. If you're not doing well, that sucks. You'll be good soon. Don't worry, my friend. See you next time.